Philippine International Convention Center, where 1,300 more or less of all of us from our very own DepEd family and our different stakeholders are gathered here today for the second National K-12 Conference.
That's right, Asek Tony. And the theme of this year's conference is
One DepEd for Quality Basic Education. It's okay to clap your hands, please. So, as we proceed with our program, and later on this afternoon, you take those photos and pictures, please don't forget to upload your photos and use hashtag OneDepEd. So, all right, to start off, let us all rise for the entrance of colors to be followed by the singing of the Philippine National Anthem.
Please remain standing for the invocation to be led by our Undersecretary for Finance, Undersecretary Victoria Katibog.
Let's put ourselves in the presence of the Lord. Our Lord God, we praise you for your faithfulness and grace in our lives. We thank you for every material and spiritual gift that you have bestowed, so we may continue to reflect your goodness on every living being, and on the things you have given us responsibility over. We ask for your presence to abide in us and to accompany us in the seen and unseen moments of life. May we not forget that all we do is for your glory. We ask you to bless the work of our hands as we contribute to nation building and the future of our young men and women. This is a sacred trust, and we humbly ask for help to accomplish all that we need to do. We are thankful for colleagues and friends who we will work with for the next 2 days. May we draw wisdom from each other's expertise and knowledge. We lift up our prayers with humility and thankfulness in our hearts. Amen.
Please be seated. Again, a great morning to each and everyone present in this prestigious hall. Indeed, it is wonderful to see all of you once more in this historic gathering.
Your presence today speaks of your continued commitment to our education reform and your ardent support to our K-12 program. So, to recognize all of you, let's give a round of applause to our Undersecretary for Planning and Field Operations, Undersecretary Jose Lorenzo Ruiz Mateo.
Good morning to all of you. Good morning, Madam Secretary Leonor Magtolis Briones. Okay lang bang bumaba na lang ako? Kanina, nung sinabi ni Director Joyce, introduce ako, Jose Lorenzo Ruiz Mateo. Sino kaya yon? Jesus po. Anyway, it's with great joy and honor to welcome you in the second National K-12 Conference. Pakiusap lang. As I call on the delegates, please stand up to be recognized, so that the others will know which regions do you belong. And may I request the regional directors to wave their hands. So, let's start with the Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, led by Secretary John Magno. Thank you. We'll now proceed with Region 13, or Caraga, led by R.D. May Eclar. Pagkatawag ko sa inyo, nag-wave na kayo, pwede na kayo umupo. Next, Region 12, Soc-Sargen, led by R.D. Arturo Bayocot. Thank you. You may take your seats. Region 11, Davao, R.D. Alberto T. Escobarte. Nandito po. Region 10, Northern Mindanao, R.D. Alan Farnaso. Region 9, Zamboanga Peninsula, RD Isabelita B. Bores. Sabi ko, wave lang eh. Pero okay na rin. Region 8, Eastern Visayas, RD Ramir Oitico. Nandun po. Region 7, Central Visayas, RD Julieta Heruta. Juliet Heruta. Nandun po, sa center. Negros Island Region, or near and yet so far, RD Gilbert T. Sadsad. Region 6, Western Visayas, led by RD Gemma M. Ledesma. Nandun po sa center. Region 5, Bicol, led by RD Ramon Fiel Absede. Saan yung 5? Ayun. Paki-wave. Yun. Hi. Region 4B, Mimaropa, RD Lorna D. Dino. Saan sila? Ayun. Thank you. Region 4A, Calabarzon, RD Diosdado Idol M. San Antonio. Region 3, Central Luzon, led by RD Bro Malcolm S. Garma. Region 2, Cagayan Valley, OIC RD Estela Carino. Region 1, Ilocos, RD Alma Ruby C. Torio. Nandun po. National Capital Region, NCR, led by RD Ponciano A. Mengito. Siyempre, hindi pwedeng hindi banggitin ang Executive Committee of the Department of Education, led by no less than Secretary Leonor Magtolis Briones. Siyempre, we cannot do our job unless we do also recognize our central office directors. Can you stand up and be recognized? Merong bumulong sa akin, bubwit. Sabi sa akin, Yusek, nagsi-senior moments ka na yata. Bakit? Nakalimutan mong banggitin ang car. Naku, sorry. Cordillera Autonomous Region, led by RD Beatrice Torno. Sorry, RD Torno. Na-snowfake doon sa script ko eh. Debiro lang. Our personnel from the central office, I said that. Siyempre, we also do recognize our external partners. And may I ask the following to stand up and be recognized. First is the Beam Arm, followed by BEST, Research Center for Teacher Quality, UNICEF Philippines, BASA Filipinas, ADB, Save the Children, JICA Philippines, and World Bank. Kindly stand up and be recognized. I think they're seated at the back. I also would like to recognize the organization representatives from the Public Financial Management Program, the higher education institutions, and syempre, our colleagues, our partners from the media. Kindly stand up and be recognized. Okay, so I'd like to turn over the mic to our beautiful MC and handsome MC.
Thank you, Yusek Jess. On December 3 and 4, 2015, around 1,000 of us gathered in this same place to learn from each other's experiences as we then prepared for the full implementation of the senior high school program. If others were still skeptical at that point of DepEd's capability to pull off grade 11, all that were erased during the first K-12 conference when the schools, the division offices, and the regional offices unraveled their elaborate plans during the breakout sessions. Admittedly, those plans would have come to naught had we not had the daring do of the field officials. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let us all take a look back on how we made history during the first National K-12 Conference.
There are people behind the scenes who made the conference look as if it was very easy to pull off. Everyone will volunteer. Mga taga-iba't ibang kusina, alam ko kung kayo tumayo kayo.
Kahit alam niyo ang inyong programa, you took it unto yourselves to be the apostles of K-12.
To give us a bit of entertainment, from Parañaque National High School, please welcome the Kulturang Kayumanggi Dance Troupe.
Marami pong salamat, Kulturang Kayumanggi Dance Troupe. If I may share with all of you right now here, in academic year 2016 to 2017, we opened the senior high school for grade 11. Tandang-tanda ko pa po, nung una pong inanunsyo ito, October 5, World Teachers Day Celebration sa Ultra 2010. Lumipas po ang maraming taon. Hanggang una po nating binuksan ito, ang dami pong nagsasabi, ang dami pong agam-agam. Lahat po ba ng mga magsisipagtapos o makakakompleto ng grade 10 o malaking bahagi nito o maraming magda-drop out ba ay kakayaning magtuloy ng grade 11? While we always say that we should all be okay, and I distinctly remember our Ma'am Liling Briones joining our former Brother Armin Luis Ro, DepEd Secretary, in the tour visits, assuring everybody that we should all be okay. Others said we are not. To date, we have a total of 1,445,107 enrolled students, both for private and public school, in more or less 10,557 schools across the country. Kung ibabawas po natin dito yung tinatawag po nating balik-aral students o yung mga bata na dapat po ay pwede na magtuloy ng kolehiyo dahil hindi naman po sila obligado sa batas na dumaan sa grade 11, ay yung numerong nabanggit po natin, we are proud to say that represents almost 100% of the grade 10 complete years. Indeed, a great accomplishment. One of the objectives of this year's conference is to highlight the best practices and share experiences and strategies in implementing the K-12 curriculum.
And to officially welcome us to this event and to introduce our keynote speaker, may I now call on the officer in charge, Office of the Director 4 of the Bureau of Learning Delivery, Director Marilet Almeida.
Good morning, everyone. They say education has the power to influence what we do today to have a significant impact to our future. That said, we are one in believing that today's event will once again mark down in our history how we pooled our resources together to make our children's education liberating and uplifting. As mentioned earlier, last December 2015, DepEd held the first national K-12 conference with the theme Standing Together for Education here at the same venue. That two-day conference brought together leaders in basic education to share experiences and strategies in the promotion and implementation of the K-12 basic education program, particularly the senior high school. It was designed like a learning action cell where the division, regions, and schools took part in plenary and parallel sessions. Today, we are once again organizing and holding the second National K-12 Conference, now with the theme, One DepEd for Quality Basic Education. This is a follow-up activity in order for us to sustain the gains of the first conference. The second edition of this conference actually focuses on the best practices in the implementation of programs from kindergarten to senior high school, focusing on governance and learning environment, and of course, the creation of partnerships and linkages for the K-12 program. The department is indeed very lucky to be headed by a committed and passionate educator in the person of our dear secretary. And it is my honor and privilege to introduce her to you as she gives the keynote speech later. Our secretary is a teacher. She teaches with a heart. Whenever and wherever she delivers a public lecture, she teaches to all of us. She has been a resource person in numerous national, regional, and international meetings and fora. She addressed the General Assembly of the United Nations in 2005. She combines the roles of distinguished academic and teacher, public official, and social activist. Secretary Briones has been involved in the administration of academic institutions. She served as Vice President for Administration and Finance of the University of the Philippines System. Before her appointment as Education Secretary, she was Chair of the Silliman University Board of Trustees and Regent and Chair Designate of the Universidad de Manila. She has a wealth of experience in administering public institutions. She was Secretary to the Commission on Audit and served as Treasurer of the Philippines. Furthermore, Secretary Briones is an articulate advocate on economic and social development issues. She was former president of Freedom from Debt Coalition. She then became lead convener of Social Watch Philippines, coordinator of Social Watch Asia, and Social Watch International. Social Watch reports to the United Nations on social development issues. Her academic and professional competencies range from business administration, accounting, public finance, public policy and administration, including local government administration, government corporations, and graft and corruption. Secretary Briones has received numerous awards in recognition of her sterling performance as public official, such as the Presidential Lingkod Bayan Award in 2000, given by the Civil Service Commission on its centennial year, the Outstanding Professional Award in Public Administration, conferred on her by the University of the Philippines Alumni Association, and the Alumni Achievement Award for Government Service, given to her by the National College of Public Administration and Governance on its 50th year. She was also awarded as Outstanding Silimanian for Public Administration, Outstanding Negrense Award for Government Service, the Bayi Citation Award for Exemplary Woman in Politics and Governance in 2011. Distinguished Alumni of the UP Alumni Association in 2013, and Outstanding Citizen of Quezon City in 2015. Even more important than her long record of research, teaching, and government service is her total commitment to good governance, particularly in public finance. She is also a member of the United Church of Christ in the Philippines and the president of the Manila Concert Choir. Friends, ladies, and gentlemen, truly an honor for me to present to you the Secretary of the Department of Education, Leonor Magtolis Briones.
kindly sit down, please. Thank you very much, Marilet, for the detailed description of my 76-year-old life. Kulang na lang ang aking love life. Mabuti na lang. Naubusan ng panahon si Marilet na mag-research doon, which my friends say is just as colorful as my professional career. Yes. Undersecretaries, assistant secretaries, bureau and service directors, regional directors, a few of whom I have already visited, education partners, donors and supporters, our own stakeholders, representatives of parents and of learners, fellow workers in government, and I do mean workers. We are not power brokers in the Department of Education. We are all workers in government. Good morning, magandang umaga, maayong buntag, maayong nga aga. And I promise you that by my next speech, I will have spoken in Ilocano, which is the language of my husband. Now, I hope that, but I cannot promise that my speech will be shorter than Marilet's introduction. Because this is a great opportunity for us, policymakers in education, to share with each and everyone. There are over 1,000 of you, and you'll bring all these new things, old things, repeated things to your respective regions and assignments. And this is a good time for us to be together and to share. Now, the job of a keynote speaker, as all of you know, of course, is to expound on the theme of the conference, as well as on the various topics and meanings. But I will not go into that because we have 2 days to discuss in detail all the sub-themes. I was just thinking that at this point, after the second conference, during this second conference, and I'm very grateful that we had a brief review, visual review of what happened during the first summit. It brings back memories of our beloved brother Armin Luistro and his courage, his vision, and his daring in changing more than 70 years of 10 years in education to our present K-12 program. And that takes not only vision and daring, but also political will, because this was passed into law. As I have repeatedly said, when this president was asked to reconsider postponing or even stopping the senior high school program, and he asked me what my views are, I said, you only have 2 options: put a stop to it, or to continue and face all the challenges and the problems and the enormous tasks that have to be done. And he asked me, what do you recommend? This was during our shadow cabinet meeting, and he said, what do you recommend then, in the presence of all the other cabinet members? And my answer is that, Mr. President, I am not a lawyer. You are a lawyer. And we are all aware that this is covered by law. We have to obey the law. And this is exactly what he's doing, continuing the senior high school program, as well as enriching the alternative learning systems, which is part and parcel also of our program in education. as stated in my vision paper, which was circulated soon after I assumed office, I clearly stated that beyond quality, the constitutional provision specifically states quality education. But over and beyond quality, we also want quality education to be accessible, to be relevant, and to be liberating, especially liberation from intellectual, social, and even material poverty. Thus, if you will recall, when we talk basic education, in my vision, we mentioned raising the quality of education. That's what you are here for at present. And it's such a joy to see all of you. Sana yung buong 600,000 plus teachers nandito, making it accessible to all. Yung sinasabi nilang education for all, make it relevant to the urgent needs. We talk about complying with the ASEAN requirements and advice. By the way, the Philippines is chairing the ASEAN meet this year. We talk about complying with APEC advice and global expectations of education. But I always insist that our K-12 program is not only for our regional friends or for our international neighbors or for the global community. We are doing this for ourselves. We are doing this for Philippine education. We are doing this to be able to compete in our own country so that we can equip our learners with the appropriate skills, the creativity, and the intelligence to cope with a changing world. So, in addition, I was discussing this with Yusek Dina, who has ably planned and steered this entire exercise, and her directors, with the support, of course, of the EXICOM. I was suggesting, and I'm sure it will come out during your workshops, your plenary discussions, the 4 enhancements that we are pushing for: teaching, sustaining education in the time of natural disaster, challenges, and victories. Only last December, we had a series of storms. I had the opportunity to visit the Bicol region. I had visited Isabela, and I have seen, and there has been a very interesting conversation in the cabinet on this, whether, we were conversing on whether we should restore the Quick Response Fund, not only for education, but also for agriculture. I have seen that the first victims, of course, in addition to families of disasters, are our schools. We may be able to build temporary shelters for our destroyed classrooms, but it will take at least 3 months, according to our planning service. It will take 6 months to rebuild those which are totally destroyed. And so we're thinking of prepositioning, as DSWD is doing, prepositioning relief goods. We should preposition textbooks, computers, furnitures in places where the paths of natural disasters usually occur. And we had a very interesting conversation on this, because you have a lag time of 3 to 6 months before final repairs are made. And the instructions of the President were very specific. Ang sabi niya, there should be no disruption in the conduct of classes. Our learners cannot be derailed and distracted by all these tragedies, natural or otherwise, that we are facing as a country and as a people. Now that I have more or less made my suggestions on the topics for the workshop, these are very, very extensive, quite impressive. The standard of usually having papers and studies which are discussed based on real experiences. We will be crying on each other's shoulders, but we'll also be cheering each other up. We'll be inspiring each other. Let me now go to a favorite topic of mine, which I think is also relevant to our theme. And I beg the indulgence of the regions I have visited because I keep on repeating this. Why do we teach? Why are we teaching? Or for the executives, why are we in the teaching profession? Why are we administering and managing education? Very often, and even this goes back to the time of my parents, my uncles, my cousins, who are also teachers, the conditions of teachers have been described as, one, exploited, underpaid, and underappreciated. But I'm wondering why, if teaching involves so much suffering, and many of us say that we are suffering, why are there 674,547 teachers staying on, attending to the needs of 25,353,594 learners? There must be something in teaching, aside from the usual expectation of so-called workers. If the life of a school teacher is so difficult, why are we here? Why do we continue to teach, even as we say that we are exploited? But I would like to beg to disagree with the notion that we are underappreciated. We are not appreciated by government or by Philippine society itself. One, as far as I know, and I believe you all know this also since you are teachers, even the administrators used to be teachers themselves. Teachers, generally, and I would say all of you, are really loved. You are loved by your communities, by your pupils, by your fellow professionals. I know as a parent that next to the parents whom children obey for some time, learners love their teachers the most. When they go home, they talk about their teacher. When you tell them to do something, they will say, no, teacher does not like that. Or when you are caught doing something which is against the teaching of the teacher, they will say, teacher says you should not do that, and so on. Business and civic organizations compete with each other in paying tribute to outstanding teachers, as well as granting generous financial rewards. Now, hindi na pwede yung mga certificate dyan, yung mga statuette dyan, dahil sinasabi nila, hindi naman yun mapiprenda, pabigay na lang yan sa mga apo. Oo. So ngayon, financial awards, reaching millions in the case of a particular bank, thousands in the case of many businesses and civic organizations. This is because they love us. This is because they recognize us, because they want us to do our best, because they entrust their children and their learners to us. So teachers enjoy very, very high status and respect in Philippine society. You go to the municipalities, you all know this. When you go to the provinces, especially to the remote areas where many young teachers are assigned, they enjoy high status and respect. I always joke that everybody wants to marry a teacher. Is that not so? The politician wants to marry a teacher. The military man wants to marry a teacher to be able to teach the children. The professions, they want to marry teachers. And so we are held in such high respect and regard, and everyone is trying to compensate for all our difficulties. Second, in addition to being so much loved, I know, for example, successful students in UP, for example, high school, where they set up professorial chairs in honor of their math teacher, in honor of their English teacher, in honor of their literature teacher, or in honor of their accounting teacher, after their parents, of course. So that's how much importance are placed on what we do and the influence that we exert on the lives of our learners. Secondly, teachers are revered. Before you think, baka you're thinking santo-santo kayo, but teachers throughout centuries, throughout history, have always been revered. Think Gautama Buddha, who started the philosophy of Buddhism. He was called teacher. Think Muhammad, who founded Islam. He taught extensively, traveling all throughout the Middle East, particularly Arabia, teaching and teaching love and peace. Think Mahatma Gandhi, who taught that peace is the way to freedom. Think Nelson Mandela. All of these personalities were teachers, were like us. Mandela, who broke the back of apartheid in Africa and inspired all of us, he was a teacher. He taught wherever he was, but he was also a formal school teacher. Think Jesus Christ, who was always addressed by his disciples not as your royal highness, your holiness, your eminence. He was always addressed as teacher because he taught. Also, and you can see that I studied quite hard for this speech. You already know I make my own speeches. Many of the most brilliant people in the world, like the Nobel Prize winners, are teachers, were teachers. And I just finished reading a book on the Nobel Prize winners where a question was asked, is there a potential Nobel Prize laureate sitting quietly in your classrooms? And when our learners succeed, usually when they are awarded, the first thing they do after, as I said, the tribute to the family is acknowledge their teacher. And usually the teachers are the proudest when their learners succeed, so on. And so what do these Nobel laureates say about teachers and education? Let's start with Nelson Mandela, everybody's hero. He said, in the terms of apartheid in Africa, where blacks were segregated from the whites and also the browns, education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. That weapon is in our hands. That weapon we are going to discuss for the next 2 days. It's our tool. And if you will recall, practically our notions of racial discrimination changed totally with Nelson Mandela. And then we go on to one of my favorite lady laureates. And this is Marie Curie, who also developed radium. She won the Nobel Prize Prize laureate twice. A woman who won the Nobel Prize twice. And what did she say? And this is what we teach our students, our learners, nothing in life is to be feared. It is only to be understood. Our learners enter the world with so much fear, with so much trepidation. And if we are afraid, then we infect them with our fears. And we teach them, we have to teach them in senior high school, in elementary, there is nothing to be feared. As this woman who won the Nobel Prize twice said. And again, our most, popular Nobel Prize laureate, of course, is Albert Einstein. When I was looking at the list of schools which were, given gaste, we paid, and I saw this list. There is this school in Mindanao which is called Albert Einstein High School. So probably they are doing their best to produce future Nobel Prize winners. And what did Albert say? He was also a teacher. He almost dropped out of elementary school because he found it inadequate. And what did he say? He said, the important thing, and this is what we try to teach now in senior high school, this creativity aspect, is not to stop questioning. Not to stop questioning whoever, whatever it is, including, of course, the dominant powers. Curiosity has its own reason for existing. And he says, as a teacher, because he lectured for many years, but there was a time, it is said, that he got tired, I don't know if he was frustrated, of conducting lectures and teaching. And since he had a driver who practically memorized all his lectures, once in a while he would let his driver deliver the lectures, since the driver memorized already. And I can identify with that because I sing, of course, as you know, in a choral group. And my driver also, whenever we make a mistake, would tell me, "Naku, ma'am, sumimplang kayo doon sa isang kanta ninyo." And he will tell me exactly where it is. So I suppose Einstein's driver absorbed the genius of his master, his client. It is the supreme art of the teacher to awaken joy in creative expression and knowledge. This is what we want to inspire, creativity. I've said this before in the Education Summit. By the time our learners get out of school, whatever we taught them will have become unfashionable, out of fashion, because there will be so many new things. But we can teach them to be creative. We can teach them not to be afraid. We can teach them to continue their curiosity. And we teach right from K to 12 on these matters. Again, another favorite, I'm sure all of you as educators know him very well, and this is Amartya Sen, who formulated so many approaches to the solving of poverty and social ills. And he said, we must go on fighting for basic education for all, but also emphasize the importance of the content of education. This is why I say the content of education is not only to please our neighbors or our international community. It is also to prepare ourselves for the challenges of development in our own country, to prepare our learners for employment in our own country, so that they can face the competition in this world of free entering and all these exchanges that are going in the region and in the international community. And you have Mario Capecci, who did fantastic work in molecular biology. And he said, our only recourse, again a teacher, I'm willing to bet that perhaps 90% of all the Nobel Prize laureates, recognized men and women who contributed to making life better on this earth, who just stayed on Earth and did not have to go out to outer space to discover new things. These people, they were and are teachers. Remember, beautiful mind. He was a lecturer in Princeton. And he continued teaching until he died after the Nobel Prize. So, Capecci says our only recourse is to provide all children with the opportunities to pursue their passions and their dreams. Maybe us, grown-ups, maybe us, oldies, have not had such an opportunity to pursue our passions and our dreams. Maybe we wanted to be doctors. Maybe we wanted to be lawyers. Maybe we wanted to be movie stars. Ay, teacher na lang. But at least we pass on those passions and those dreams to our learners and share this with them. Now, let's go to Asia. We have two UU. A professor, a woman professor, whose research resulted in really discovering drugs which are used now to treat malaria, which used to kill millions of people in the tropical countries and so on, and has saved millions of people worldwide. And what is he saying, and this is exactly also what we are trying to do in education, is, as scientists, he said, we need the spirit of innovation to find new things. So we have to be creative, we have to be curious, we have to question, we have to control and to conquer our fear, and then we have to innovate. And this is what she says. Lastly, among the Nobel Prize winners, laureates, I will pick a non-teacher. I'm choosing a learner to give our last quotation among our Nobel Prize. And what did she say? Of course, all of you know Malala Yousafzai. She was the Nobel Prize winner in 2014, the youngest. Her face was practically destroyed because she insisted on going to school. She's now campaigning for education for girls. And what did she say? And this is addressed to all of us. Think about it the next 2 days. Let us pick up our books and our pens. They are our most powerful weapons. A 14-year-old echoing the words of the 80-year-old Mandela. One child, one book, one pen can change the world. Finally, a teacher who really spends his time in teaching. I got this from a book which the Dean of our College of Public Administration in UP made us all read. Because, of course, we also, in our own college, we also felt exploited. We also felt underpaid. And we were always comparing our salaries with those in the private universities. We were always complaining. And she made us read the book by this man, Parker Palmer. And Palmer says that good teaching cannot be reduced to technique alone. Good teaching comes from the identity. What are you? What is yourself? When you teach yourself. That is why each teacher is always different from the other. Yung sarili mo ang tinuturo mo, di ba? Kasi role model ka ng mga estudyante mo. And the integrity of the teacher. What is integrity? Integrity is when you harmonize yourself, your heart, and of course, your spirit. And that is the source of good teaching. And he says, I love this very much, because all of you are, I believe, teachers at heart. I am a teacher at heart, he says, and there are moments, and I have felt these moments, you have felt these moments, whether you are teaching kindergarten or special children or senior high school who are as noisy as seniors can be. I am a teacher at heart, and there are moments in the classroom, have you not felt that, when I can hardly hold the joy really of teaching. When my students and I, according to Parker, discover uncharted territory, because you, at the beginning of class, you go on a journey together with your learners. You go on a journey of curiosity, of questioning, of learning, of being creative and being innovative. And I discover with my students uncharted territory to explore when the pathway out of the thicket opens up before us, when our experience is illumined by the lightning life of the mind. Then, and please agree with me, otherwise we have to find something else to do. Then, teaching, according to Parker, is the finest work I know. PBB, DLL, chalk allowance, whatever, it's still the finest work that we are able to do. Now, going back to this conference, baka sasabihin ninyo, wala nang ginawa si Briones kundi mag-quote ng mga favorite authors niya. I always, swerte kayo because I'm reading about Nobel Prize winners. There was a time in my life I was reading Games of Thrones. And so I would ask my students to recite on the War of the Roses and Henry II and so on. And also, there was also a time when I was into Lord of the Rings. So, so my students, and earlier on I was into Robin Hood, since our course was in public finance, and so we had very lively discussions on whether Robin Hood should be a hero or he should be called the #1 tax evader of all time, because he advocated non-payment of taxes. Anyway, there was also a time, by the way, when we were discussing, we were exploring, have you ever thought of the notion of delicadeza? All the advertisements, they say, you practice delicadeza, but what does delicadeza mean? How do we interpret delicadeza? So my students embarked on a journey of looking into instances when delicadeza was an issue. And the debates were so vigorous that one of the girls really cried when she was challenged, because she did not like, in the case of delicadeza, she did not like Robin Hood, or she did not like Manuel Quezon, and then you have this other guy saying, and so on. Questions of delicadeza are real decisions that have to be made, as we had to make real decisions also last night in the cabinet. So you will be exchanging techniques, best practices, and I hope you are inspired. You better be inspired. This is a massive investment on our part, and a very useful investment in teaching, in administration, in governance and accountability, from kindergarten to senior high school. And this is the final quote. The final quote is a Briones quote. Oh, panay quote na lang ng iba. I should provide one of my own. At the beginning of each semester or class, I taught grade 2 Sunday school, high school, and then, of course, graduate school later on. I would like to share with you, as you debate and reflect, that you should never forget that above all else, beyond all the worries about the utang, the automatic deduction, and all the creditors running after you, and the challenges of these times, never forget, above all else, whether you are an administrator or you are a teacher, you are teachers. Each school year, you face new sets of learners. You will be facing a new set of learners this June, plus grade 12, which we have to be preparing for. If at the end of the year or at the end of the term, you know, when they come in, you watch their faces, you look into their eyes, di ba? You look at them, the way they dress, the way they move, you get to know their parents. If at the end of the year, and I tell my students this, if you are able to open maybe one, maybe two, maybe many windows in their minds, because they really believe in what the teachers say, to new and exciting paths. There is a world beyond famous actors and actresses. There's a world beyond the debates on short skirts and long skirts, or blue eyes or green eyes, long hair or short hairs. That you help them to discover new and exciting paths. If you help them know and love their country more, if you discover things they never knew before, you would be shocked, as I am often shocked, at what our learners do not know. And if you share this journey of discovery with them, if you teach them skills which they did not have before, if you have made them better human beings and citizens of this country and the world, then you will be following the path of the greatest teacher of all, the one whom we call teacher and master. Have an exciting 2-day journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that very uplifting and inspiring message, Madam Secretary. If one were to marvel where that vim and vigor, that wit that goes with that 76-year-old body come from, and if I may hazard a guess, and I think it is evident in the presentation and in the keynote message that you have delivered, it is from many years of teaching passionately and enthusiasm for life. Thank you again, Madam Secretary. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I think that everyone is now looking forward to and excited to participate in our parallel sessions. So may I request everyone to listen carefully to the instructions. Please make sure that you have registered and that you have been assigned to 4 parallel sessions. There will be ushers to guide you to the breakout rooms. Keep your mobile phones silent. If you need to make an urgent call, please do it outside the session hall. Third, be punctual in attending the parallel sessions. Fourth, follow the instructions of the moderators. And fifth, participate actively in the discussions. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our opening program. We will now move on to our respective breakout rooms. Our morning snacks will be served in the breakout rooms where overflowing coffee and water await you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and good luck to all of us.